what's up you guys? It's Simon. Welcome back to my channel. So obviously, as you guys can tell by the title, we are doing a video where I try to use art supplies that I do not like. And I do want to specify that the art supplies themselves are not bad, especially because these are an affordable brand of paints. I happen to really like Apple Barrel paints for a lot of different reasons. I use them on my earrings a lot. They're really quick drying, but also at the same time, it's like they're very blendable in my experience. I just really enjoy using them for certain things, but those certain things are not necessarily painting. So what I mean by that is obviously my style, both in digital and in my Copic illustrations, it's very blended. A lot of like I guess you could describe as like airbrushy sort of blending. So when I try to incorporate that into like oil and acrylics, it just does not work for me. I'm really not good at painting traditionally, and I thought it would be fun to try and do that again for a video, try and force myself to do stuff I don't like. I also want to do another one of these with color pencils. We'll get into that in a future video. But anyway, so again, I just want to clarify, I like these paints, I just am not great at painting. So the first thing that I did was I just wanted to start off with a sort of like basic portrait. I didn't want to do anything too fancy that had like dramatic lighting and like a nice pose and like just this really pretty reference image. I just sort of wanted to stay within my comfort zone, just like drawing a random portrait from my imagination, because obviously I'm already going to be struggling and kind of uncomfortable with the whole painting process, so I don't need to be struggling with this sketch as well. I also tried to draw big to give myself room to blend, but also mostly to give myself room to make mistakes, because I was certain that I was going to be making a lot of them. So the first phase, I suppose, of painting for me was I was kind of struggling with how I would approach it. I didn't know if I wanted to go from like lighter tones to darker tones, or from darker to light, or whether or not I should be like watering my paints down and doing an underpainting, because like I said, I don't work with acrylics for this type of stuff very often, and I was kind of just experimenting to see how I personally felt about using them. So overall painting process, I first decided to water down just the skin tone because I thought it would be a lot easier to cover everything. And also, one of my main things that keeps me away from using acrylics for painted portraits is that I rely very heavily on my sketch for all of my illustrations, and acrylics obviously for the most part are opaque, so covering them up is not great for me. I don't like to not be able to see my sketch, so I made sure that I watered it down, and I kind of regret watering it down because it did make the skin tone, I believe, a little bit patchy, and towards the end there are some areas that are the texture of the paper is a little bit different because it got a little bit eaten up. So I would probably add less water to the base color if I were to do it that way again. I do recommend adding just a little bit of water whether or not you're going to be doing an underpainting, because it also helps your paint sort of last longer, if that makes sense. It allows you to spread more paint out without necessarily making it sheer. Also, depending on how much water you add, if you add just a little bit, you can make it spread more without making it sheer. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, especially with like darker or more mid-tone colors, just a little bit of water will make it spread. Anyways, so yeah, I did that just for the skin tone, because once I did that, I realized that I did not very much like how that looked. So when I moved on to painting the hair, I actually just went straight in with the color, not any water or anything like that. I also made sure to mix all of my paints off camera for the most part. I was going to give her blue eyes, and then I decided towards the very end that they were going to be green because I felt like the blue was a little bit out of place. But yeah, I just tried to mix everything off camera because I knew that it was going to take me quite a while to get those shades. But I actually really like that mustard tone I ended up going with. I wanted it to be a little bit orangier, but seeing it on the finished illustration, I was like, okay, I really do like this color. It's one of my favorites. Obviously, we are heavily getting into fall now, and all of my favorite colors like mustard and orange and like burnt orange and brown and all that are making a comeback, so very excited about all of that. Anyway, so yeah, one thing that I was really struggling with, apart from just the overall painting process, is I cannot mix a skin tone to save my life. I really need to practice doing that, especially when you take into account that I initially started with like what I believe is called like some kind of white ivory, and it's already sort of a skin tone. So the fact that I started out with that and then ended up with like purple as the skin tone was a little bit interesting. I don't think it's totally unbelievable. It's just definitely not the tone that I was going for, and I also feel like it's a lot a bit desaturated. I wish the colors were a bit more vibrant, so I do need to work on mixing more vibrant skin tones. And also, I don't know what it is about acrylics, but every time I use acrylics, I feel like I have to shade with purple. I don't know what possesses me to do this every single time, but it always happens. Like, you know, with my Copics, if I'm doing a lighter skin tone, I usually end up shading with some sort of like peach or pink, or even like if I'm feeling a little dramatic, like an orange or a very subtle purple, but still very earthy tone. But with acrylics, it's like, so you have your base skin tone, which is sort of like maybe a tan or a peach, and then you're gonna just shade it with purple. I don't care, like straight purple. So I don't know what possessed me to do that, but I think that also aided in the very desaturated look. I feel like her skin looks a little bit dead. Looking at it now as it's dried, it's not horrible, but it does definitely have a very gray tint to it. One thing that I really did like about the illustration, though, and the overall painting process was actually the hair, which kind of shocked me because I thought that was what was going to give me sort of the most trouble, because that's what gives me the most trouble in my Copic illustrations, although I am switching up my method. I might do a Copic tutorial here pretty soon because my older one is very outdated and low-key, a little bit lazy, so I might be doing one of those in the future. Let me know down below if that's something you guys would be interested in seeing. But yes, back to the hair. I used this round brush that it's kind of bent at the tip. I don't know what happened to it, but it was just the right sort of texture for me to be able to do like similar to what I would do with a Copic marker, that feathering technique, and it left like a really nice texture that I then immediately covered up with the highlights because I did not think anything through. But I was actually able, once I got the highlights in, to go back over those highlights and bring that texture back in, and it actually does look really nice. I wish I had a little bit more shadow in there, but because my base tone and my shadow were so close together, it was really hard for me to be able to see where I was placing down the shadow, especially because I'm painting right in front of a huge window, and so there was a lot of glare on the paint because while they're not glossy, it is wet, and obviously water reflects light, and so I was like, oh god, what's going on? So I couldn't blend things properly, so I decided to just go for what I normally do when I want to add a little bit of a shadow but I can't really blend or don't want to really blend, and that is I add some darkness to the roots, maybe a little bit around the bangs if I'm feeling like I can do that, and then some towards the back of the head, if that makes sense. I talked about it in my hair tutorial if you guys want to go and have a look at that. So yeah, I thought the hair turned out really nice. I really liked the colors. I picked up this really cute, like it was like a corally pinky peach color today, and I used that mixed in with the brown for the highlights, and I just thought it was a really nice color. So overall, I don't hate the final illustration. I do think it's like a decent enough drawing. It's not something that I would totally hate to put on Instagram, but it also at the same time could have been a lot better. I tried to save it towards the end by adding line art and a little bit of shading with colored pencils, but yeah, overall it's not my favorite illustration, but it's also not horrifically ugly like I was expecting it to be. So yeah, I think I just need a little bit more practice. I need to force myself to do it more often rather than just, you know, kind of only doing it when I'm forcing myself to. But yeah, let me know if there's any supplies that you guys want to see me try, like things that I don't use very often. Obviously, I mentioned that I was thinking about doing one with colored pencil, maybe something with watercolor or something like that. And again, I do want to stress I do not hate using these supplies. It's just that they are so far out of my comfort zone that I don't use them very often, but I have them at my disposal and I should use them more often. So yeah, if there's anything you guys want to see me try out, please let me know and I will definitely think about trying them for a video. So that being said, next week's video I am very, very, very excited for, and that is I'm going to be redrawing my first ever post from my Instagram, which is super huge. It's been like 3 years now, which is super weird to me. I don't understand how this happened. But yeah, if you want to see a redraw of my first Instagram post, be sure to subscribe and turn on my notifications so that you guys can see when I upload next. And that should be, what is today? What is today? What is today? Oh my goodness. This should be Monday's video, and so it will be going up this Thursday. Oh my gosh, my brain. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, be sure to subscribe like I said before, and also I want to give a big shout out to my patron Elise Thompson and Duran. You guys are the best. Thank you so much for continuing to support me every single month. I do want to mention that because of the new recent shop update, patrons now have a discount code on the Etsy store. So if you want to you know, get your hands on some of the new earrings and stickers that have just been released and you want a little discount, go check out the Patreon because patrons get them at every tier. So yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.